welcome to another installment of Faces of JAF. Today I'm joined by a member of JAF Board of Directors and great friend of the organization, Ronny Mosston. Ronny, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jen. It's an honor to be here.
Can you please share, Ronny, a little bit about yourself and how you became involved with the Joe Andruzzi Foundation and so passionate about our mission?
Sure. My experience with the organization has had multiple lives to it, starting early on in the organization as a corporate sponsor when I was heading up patient advocacy in the biotech industry and was enamored with the amazing work that you all were launching. When I left the organization, I was fortunate to be asked to join the board and bring both my patient advocacy and my years of human resource strategy experience. In the middle of that, I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And in that context, we had a 360-degree relationship where I then became a patient. And when I was healthy enough, I came back on the board with a whole new set of observations and experiences.
You know, I look at you today and how healthy you are, and to think that just such a short time ago, you were on the patient side of things and really, you know, fighting just as hard as Joe once did. But it's so good to see you healthy and back at all the amazing work that you do as a professional, but also the work that you support us doing. Ronny, as we know, the COVID-19 pandemic is changing things for cancer patients. And as a survivor, what are your thoughts on what we're learning each day about the impact of COVID-19 on patients and their families?
As the pandemic hit and heading up human resources for a biotech company that works in oncology and primary immunodeficiency, I see this from a professional and a personal point of view. And I'm very struck by how fortunate I was at the time that I was going through treatment and long recovery, that I had a job, that I had insurance, and I had access to Dana-Farber. And I am so aware every day of the realities and how all three of those things are affecting our patients. And it's hard enough to go through the process, the treatment, but to have all these other obstacles, which is why it's very exciting that the work that we're doing in the organization is particularly focused as well on supporting people during this pandemic time. It supports our overall mission, but it's particularly underscored by the added strain and stress of this period of time.
For the Joe Andruzzi Foundation, we support patients and families who are having the side effects of the cost of cancer, the financial toxicity that happens to an individual, a family. You know, before the COVID-19 pandemic, our population, our community that we would support, they already had those lost wages. If it was themselves as the patient or the caregiver, and now that has just exploded. For some of the patients that previous to this did not need the Joe Andruzzi Foundation and to apply to our financial assistance program, they are going to need help with their housing. You know, who could previously afford something may not be able to afford currently.
That's what I'm really struck by, that if this were today and I were not working for various reasons, which many are not, I could be calling the foundation. Yeah. And that is very, very humbling and very profound.
Right now, we are in this world where things are starting to reopen, right? We live in the state of Massachusetts, and that's where our headquarters are. And we're looking at when is the right time to reopen. And as a human resource executive, that's where a nonprofit can really look to a board member, can really look to those who support us, and not only for fiduciary responsibilities when it comes to the checks and balances, but also your expertise that you bring to the organization. I know we've had some conversations about when is the right time to reopen. You know, we've been so fortunate to have our staff at home and for our program to be in full function, but you and I have really had some very thoughtful, meaningful conversations, even back, you know, when it started in March. How do we protect our staff? How do we protect their families? And that's a way that you've really been able to lean in and offer, you know, your expertise.
Well, I think you've done a great job in pulling together a board of professionals who are committed to and bring expertise to support you and JAF. We have that in other functions, and I'm very pleased to be part of that on the culture, human resource building teams point of view. And I think that the spirit of JAF is always to think about people and patients first. And in this case, it's certainly patients, and then it's the team. And there's no black and white answer to when do we start. And there's the consideration of what the governor says relative to the state. Then there's all of the other requirements. And then there are the what should we also be thinking about that is about what we care about, that does the best we can to reduce risk. And then how do we keep running the organization? And I think so far, you've done a great job in being able to do that remotely, keeping in mind safety first. And we don't know exactly what phase 2 is, or 3, or 4, but I think you've prepared the organization to be able to function very effectively remotely and with anticipation and consideration for the what ifs. And that's to your credit and the team's credit for thinking beyond the moment.
There's like almost so much COVID-19 inbox emails that it's like it comes at you so fast and furiously that it's hard to sometimes weed out the noise and also like listen to what you have to listen to, right? And I think that's where you've been such a great advisor to myself, but then allowing me to then do that for our staff and our team. And Ronny, you've been a huge advocate and leader on the executive committee team to make sure that all of the members on that committee are involved in making sure that happens and really making smart decisions.
Thank you, Jen. I think it's a privilege and it's a mission to do that. And one of the things you're doing that effective CEOs everywhere are doing is communicate internally and with the people, your circle of advisors, colleagues, leadership team, and continue to move things forward and look at possibilities of if this, then that. And you've done a great job on that. I think your team is starting to think that way so that we who support the organization are more comfortable about our horizon, because while there's a lot unknown, we're preparing for what we can imagine and we're thinking it through. And the corporate climate around this is changing every day. The donor community is changing every day. So I think it requires and deserves that kind of attention.
Thanks for joining us today, Ronny, and continued safety and health to you and Lance. And thank you so much again for what you do for the joint.
My pleasure, and thank you to all the people who support JAF. We really, really count on you and appreciate it.